Anaerobic respiration.
Anaerobic respiration is a process where cells use glycolysis to produce energy. Anaerobic means without oxygen, therefore anaerobic respiration means to respire without oxygen. In terms of understanding respiration, what we use as respiration in everyday life is a misnomer because we are breathing through ventilation, which means we are inhaling oxygen and exhaling carbon dioxide, not respiring in the process of producing energy. Anaerobic respiration is seen in all living cells that produce ATP energy through glycolysis, which is vital to the understanding of cytology in a simple and well-put format. This relates to the Biology 30 outcomes of Origins for Life, where you investigate cell structures and processes, which include energy transfer and the transport of materials in both unicellular and multicellular organisms, which are representative of each kingdom. In this, our indicators were to analyze the processes, for example, chemosynthesis, photosynthesis, and cellular respiration, through which organisms from each kingdom synthesize energy in the form of adenosine triphosphate, ATP. The purpose of today's experiment is to demonstrate anaerobic respiration in everyday occurrences. For safety, we have gloves, goggles, and aprons to ensure that we protect ourselves as well as possible, as we are using chemicals that are mostly safe, but in large quantities we don't want to hurt ourselves with.
It's time!
For the first part of today's experiment, we will be looking at ethyl alcohol fermentation. Ethyl alcohol fermentation occurs in bacteria and yeast cells since they lack the enzymes and organelles needed to function at a higher level. For my hypothesis for ethyl alcohol fermentation today will be that the yeast cells will have produced ethyl alcohol by the end of a week. What we'll be needing for today's experiment in ethyl alcohol fermentation is a jar and a airlock, yeast, sugar, measuring cup for a cup, and distilled water, hopefully 2 liters of distilled water, and a pot, and a spoon. Now, what I've added into this pot is 190 milliliters of water and 90 grams of sugar. 500 grams of sugar, which we will be cooling down and adding into this jar, and later adding to our yeast. Now that we finished dissolving the sugar in the water and cooling it down, we have added the water into this jug, and now we will be adding the yeast into the water.
Alright folks, our second experiment is lactic acid fermentation. So, lactic acid fermentation occurs in muscle tissue that lacks oxygen as a result of strenuous exercise, but it also occurs in certain bacteria whose flavor secretions are used to flavor sourdough bread, yogurt, some cheese, and the acid that makes milk, and other numerous fermented foods. So here is our diagram of how lactic acid fermentation works. And our hypothesis for making these pickles is that the pH of the pickles will be more acidic than the pH of the cucumbers. The materials that we need for the pickles, aka the lactic acid fermentation, is measuring cup, sugar, salt, jars, white distilled vinegar, water, various herbs and spices, a pot and a spoon, and yeah. Okay, so we have combined our white distilled vinegar, water, sugar, and salt into our medium saucepan, and on medium heat I am stirring until the sugar and salt has dissolved, and we will check back in with you when that has happened. Our, sorry, my goggles. Our salt and sugar has dissolved, so now we're gonna let it cool before we pour it into our jars with our cucumbers and spices. Okay, so this is the finished product of our jars of pickles, I'll do a little bit of explaining. So as you saw, we mixed our water, vinegar, salt, and sugar together and heated up, dissolved it, and then I poured them into our jars. I cut my cucumbers 3 different ways just for our own personal entertainment. These ones are cut into strips, these are coins, and these ones we left whole. Other things we put in here are dill, red pepper, bay leaves, and garlic. And so now we're gonna put them in the fridge and wait a week and see how they turned out.
All right, and what is our theory on how they will ferment between the 3?
Well, the surface area is bigger on the ones that are cut, so I think that the acidity will be higher for those.
Well, this is our ethyl alcohol fermentation. It's been 1 week, so we're gonna test it.
Not by
taste.
drinking
We're
it,
not
but we're
drinking
just
it.
smelling it.
It has a strong smell. It smells almost like cool water.
Like pool water.
That's what I smell.
As it was
It does.
fermenting, I was noticing that the bottle had been building up lots of bubbles. Not right now, because we opened it.
Where'd
but
you buy
it's
the
been
jar for it?
winners.
Oh.
It's also gotten cloudier over the past week, and so we might keep monitoring this for the next few months, seeing how it goes. But
Sure.
it won't be part of our SDS.
This will be my Christmas gift to you, Miss Ferris. Next year. This resulted because the fermentation worked as the biological agents, yeast, digested the sugars present in the water. Ethyl alcohol or ethanol are the secretions of those agents. The purpose for the fermentation is for yeast to produce ATP and expel its waste, which is ethanol and CO2, in an airless space. Thus, the reason for the airlock.
広がる闇の中交わし合った革命のちぎり誰にも邪魔させるわけにはいかないから
Okay. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers, everybody.
Don't actually touch this.
Or just ching here.
Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Oh my god.
Yeah, there's vinegar in there.
They're good, they're just strong.
They are
Oh.
strong.
My jaws are like,
Whew.
that's
It's
good.
interesting.
I'm gonna need some water.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Man, you're weak.
So, the lactic acid, which we found in our pickles, it comes through the process of pickling, which is when you preserve or extend the shelf life of food by putting it in brine or by putting it immersing it in vinegar, which is our anaerobic respiration and fermentation. So, our experiment and analysis has impacted the areas of technology, society, and environment. I'll speak about technology. The cultivating of yeast has become industrialized as time goes on. So that means everything now has become more commercialized, and it happens rather than in slow processes. It becomes more and more quick and common, and in factories and stuff. So people first cultivated and used yeast for fermentation when brewing drinks and stuff, but they eventually developed techniques for cultivating yeast for baking and other uses. So modern yeast production, it comes from the rapidly reproduction of it by feeding on sugars or substrates. They are then cultivated in large quantities, so they have a big cultivation, and they take a bunch of that and they use it, and they can change the parameters for however they need it. So if it's making alcoholic drinks, brewing, distilling, and for creating breads.
Society. The information we can gather from our experiment helps us understand how anaerobic respiration has helped our society. The introduction of more delicacies through fermentation like bread, cheese, and many types of alcohol. Without the process of anaerobic respiration, humans would lack the gut bacteria, aiding in immune, heart, and brain health. Moreover, we would lack the support needed to exercise human survival and recreational activities such as powerlifting and sprints. And most importantly, we would not have pickled foods, cheese, bread, alcohol, and fermented foods, and many other foods, requiring anaerobic respiration as the first step. However, to due to this type of respiration, we suffer cramps due to lactic acid, accidents, abuse, and in any cases relative to intoxication due to ethyl alcohol. But those are easily solvable through limitation of certain exercises related to such cases.
So next is for the environment. A positive impact of anaerobic respiration on the environment is it helps in the decomposition of organic matter, such as dead plants and animals. And decomposing is important for the nutrient recycling in ecosystems. A negative impact of anaerobic respiration is through methanogenesis, which produces methane, a harmful greenhouse gas that contributes to climate change.
What we can conclude is that alcohol and pickling is pretty easy to make. Though we don't recommend it, we just want to state that it was super easy and that everyday things that
everyday things that you have in your house that you can see, you can do it yourself. You can buy pickles at the supermarket, or you can get the things you need to make it and tweak on it yourself and make it just how you like it.
Well, yeah, because we didn't use anything that we didn't already have in the kitchen. I didn't go out and buy anything else, but they turned out okay.
Exactly.
Other than the airlock and distillation process, alcohol is good to go. Though I don't recommend it. It's illegal.
Well, yeah, it needed to be. We didn't consume any of it because that would make us sick.
And we're minors.
And we were minors.
Exactly.
Next time we do this, though, I think we can improve by hopefully increasing the time we have to ferment our pickles and alcohol, and possibly incorporating lactic acid fermentation through sourdough starter.
Yeah, if we had more time, that would have been a good thing to do. Also, for our pickles, though, I in the recipe I did, it was equal parts vinegar and water, and I would probably do a bigger part water than vinegar, just because they're really sour.
And another thing we could do for the alcohol fermentation is that if we want a stronger reaction or a stronger process, we could add both more glucose and more yeast. So that way it has a larger grouping to start, so it'll build up and create the ecosystem a little bit easier rather than starting from smaller quantities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else?
It's good.